Hey Thinkers, hi, I'm Thinkafurr, your coffee-loving, reality and/or world-hopping free thinker from the land down under. So I sat down recently to watch the latest Five Nights at Freddy's movie, and honestly I liked it. So much so that I wanted to branch out and make a few videos covering some theories on the law. No, not the lore, or as a certain famous YouTuber would put it, the lore. No, I'm referring more to the law and order kind of law. Okay, maybe there might be a sprinkle of lore as well alongside the law. See, we know Fazbear's franchise was wildly successful, but it had its ups and downs and was certainly run by some shady folk, William Afton being no exception. So the question is, how did Freddy Fazbear skirt around the law and at times straight up use it for its own ends? Well, honestly, it all goes back to the scene in which Mike Schmidt first meets Vanessa. See, the reason I felt compelled to bring it up is the fact that Vanessa, whom I'm really honestly having a hard time not calling Vanny, because the parallels are there. I mean, they even play authoritative roles and are around the same age. So yeah, I'm gonna call her Vanny for short. Anyway, the reasons I'm compelled to bring this up is, Vanessa in the film is a police officer, an authority figure, just like her FNAF security breach counterpart. And if you haven't seen the film already, spoiler alert, go and watch it before this video. Now, warnings aside, Vanessa isn't just a police officer that's running around doing her job. She's also lurking around that closed-down Freddy Fazbear's establishment and is practically supervising the place and/or observing the place whilst her father, spoilers, William Afton, is doing who knows what. Yes, it's revealed as well in the film she's his daughter and is lurking around doing the Afton shuffle whilst in a spring-lock suit. Tell me that connection doesn't make you turn your head and question if Vanny is really a legitimate police officer and a good guy or not. If it does encourage a little bit of a thought or a question, well, you've clicked the right video, and I'd encourage you to also click the like bell, subscribe, and grab a cup of Thonk juice because this law theory is now in session. Alright, so let's just get right into the meaty core of the question of whether or not the law is being used to benefit Freddy Fazbear's by directly breaking down Vanessa or Vanny's character. So, what is Vanny's role? Is she really a good officer of the law, or is she compromising her role as an officer? Are there any conflicts of interest that can argue that she is indeed compromising her profession as a law enforcement officer? Well, firstly, before we go through them, what is a conflict of interest? Well, it could be described as a situation in which a person is between the concerns or aims of two different parties that are incompatible, or a situation in which a person is in a position to derive personal benefit from actions or decisions made in their official capacity. Vanessa's official capacity being her job as a police officer and all the power and privilege that comes with that role being her responsibility to carry out and use professionally and legally. Now, Vanessa's conflicts of interest are very clear. In brief summary, she is the daughter of the murderer William Afton and has lived unwittingly as a bystander and potentially an accessory to his crimes as well as a victim of them. She is enmeshed from a young age by her father with the business and how it operates and runs, and also its affairs both legal and illegal. Another conflict of interest she carries is that Vanessa is deeply involved and emotionally invested in Fazbear's business and cares a lot for its assets and future success. Vanny even bends the law if it suits Fazbear's interests or even her personal interests, which honestly do tend to coincide. For example, Vanessa refuses to practice enforcing the law when Mike Schmidt falls asleep and a break-in happens. He should have been charged for criminal negligence, and yet she doesn't quite follow through. Why? Is it purely because she cares for Mike and his sister? Well, ask yourself this. What would happen if Mike, an employee of Fazbear's, was charged for a crime, that crime being criminal negligence? Well, Mike is caring for his sister, a child. Mike is a guard at Freddy Fazbear's. Mike also happens to be a witness to his brother's disappearance. All of this points to one angle. how Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria will look. I mean, the business was closed already due to Afton's murders and kidnappings of the children who would become hidden in the animatronics and then subsequently haunt them before becoming controlled by Afton. Now this part I feel like requires some lore for context. So to grossly simplify a complicated series of events, due to the murder kidnappings being tied to the pizzeria by the authorities, the place was closed down and Afton decided to lay low and avoid incrimination. Admittedly, there's a lot more to this story besides that, but we need to condense this, so apologies if details are missing, but the takeaway is, this is a place that needs to recover. It needs to remain out of the news and out of the authorities' eyes, and to make a return and reopen without the looming threat of cancel culture and, of course, more controversial affairs. So Vanessa, whether she meant it or not this way, kept Freddy Fazbear's out of the papers and out of the police's eyes again. Ultimately, I think her prime motives are a combination of love for Freddy Fazbear's, her care for Mike Schmidt and his sister, with her last and final priority being the law beneath all of these things. Additionally, she isn't driven by Afton, instead she's fearful and avoidant of any kind of involvement with him all the way up till the end. Furthermore, everything we've said so far shows her reasoning and why she struggles with enforcing the law and in confronting her father William Afton, until some time later we see eventually she makes the ethical choice to confront Afton, firing a body shot in self-defense at his suit, which then causes spring lock failure to occur. But what's weird is that Vanny states if she confronts Afton, she won't be able to resist. Resisting what exactly? Is it the raw psychology at play with her conflicts of interest in doing the right thing, or is it because maybe Vanny is an animatronic? Well, I'd say firstly, she got stabbed and bled a lot, so chances are strong she's not an animatronic. Also, she's kinda sorta in a hospital, and typically after receiving such a deep wound to the torso, usually there's a need to operate, stitch wounds, give blood transfusions to the victim, so you'd think that doctors would see an endoskeleton, so scratch that idea completely off the table. Vanny, or Vanessa in the film, is without a doubt psychologically entrapped. The conflicts of interest are clearly causing strong feelings of cognitive dissonance, a term used to define the experience of having views, values, or beliefs amidst having intrusive thoughts or feelings that contradict these values or beliefs. She wants to stand up to Afton, but she also has conflicting feelings. Her child-to-parental bonds with her father, her love for the animatronics and the Freddy Fazbear franchise her father was a part of, her guilt and fear in realizing her childhood was directly involved in the abduction and murder of the missing children. And finally, lastly, of course, her connection with the spirits within the animatronics. All of it weighs on her heavily, even when stepping in to defend Mike Schmidt against William Afton. But one thing's clear, each and every single decision that Vanessa, officer of the law, makes is beneficial towards the return of Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. There's a time in which she even steps in and supervises, if not straight up manages, Mike Schmidt under the guise of her police authority, all whilst being very low-key about her interests with the place. She needs Mike to succeed as a guard because staff retention is important, and if she can get Mike to do well, maybe, just maybe, the doors can reopen. But if he failed, an already condemned and closed Freddy Fazbear's faces legal consequences. In accordance with property laws, Freddy Fazbear's could face civil forfeiture, which is effectively when the government can seize ownership of a property when that property is involved with a crime. Because the child disappearances bared some form of involvement but were not seen as direct by the authorities enough to warrant civil forfeiture initially, Mike Schmidt, an employee of the business being charged with criminal negligence in a time in which the business needed to lay low, is extremely bad on paper, so maybe, just maybe, that's why Vanessa really held back charging Mike. Because it would give grounds for civil forfeiture, and that not only would make it incredibly difficult for the business, but it would lead back to the animatronics that hide the bodies of the missing children. If Freddy Fazbear's was seized by the authorities and investigated, they would without a doubt find the bodies eventually, not to mention all the safety concerns all around the place. All in all, I'd say Vanessa or Vanny had a huge role in using and bending the lore. Okay, wow, that is fun, and I can definitely see why MatPat does that, but yeesh, my vocals are shot after doing that. Anyway, either way you cut it, it's certainly clear that Fazbear's entertainment benefited from Vanessa's actions, and perhaps maybe, prior to the closure and prior to the on-screen events in the film, maybe Vanessa used her position within the law enforcement to assist her father in covering up the dark, shady events, or maybe even just in cleaning up after the many guards that died in the interim of Mike Schmidt entering the picture as a guard. Regardless, there's plenty of loose ends, and I'm sure I haven't addressed everything given the deep, convoluted pools of rich lore in the FNAF universe, so I'm going to end this video here and leave the rest for the comment section to investigate further. If you liked this video, hit the like button, subscribe, and share your thoughts with myself and everyone below, and join our Discord server. It's the heart of our community, and you'll always be at the center of our big-brained Thonkverse. That all said, thinkers, have a big-brained Thonky day, and be sure to think safe out there. Bye-bye!